Welcome back, guys, and welcome to the official PlayStation 5 technical presentation.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm excited to be here to talk about the newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming
Right off the bat.
technology.
Wow.
But first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional gaming experience.
I'm actually really excited, dude. I'm so excited.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds and frame rates that can be as high as 120 frames a second. PS5 has a powerful RDNA 2 GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore. Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of water or glass, and the realism that comes from real-time global illumination. A custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions.
Ratchet and Clank was absolutely awesome, by the way.
And data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
Spider-Man.
Okay, I'm working on it.
Tempest 3D audio tech brings an unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the games. With audio so real, you may not even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are. Finally, the DualSense controller has haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing.
I think the biggest feature of the PlayStation 5 is that controller.
It's wonderful to see such variety and richness of game experiences. Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance. The dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with: graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players.
Yes, definitely.
Fidelity modes emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing. But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second.
We usually just go for performance,
mainly by reducing the graphical detail until those frame rates can be achieved. When asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time.
Yep.
Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3.
All right, AI-driven upscaling.
We made the GPU much larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses.
Wow.
The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster.
Dude, that's huge.
Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games. Game creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles, and with the Big 3 involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate.
Wow,
Here's
that's
The Last
awesome.
of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second.
Wow.
Let's compare this to the Fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier. This goal of delivering almost Fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
That's huge for console players, dude.
And Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5.
Wow.
Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5.
Dude.
For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet & Clank. Distant details are much clearer. And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution
God.
throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural
Yeah, look at the
cars.
leaves on the tree.
So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the big three showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual
An
effects,
incredibly beautiful game. One of the most beautiful games you
as
can
well
play.
as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
Open up, guys. Jorv's orders.
Good enough for me.
Ray tracing is finding broad usage as well, particularly when the games are focused on higher frame rates. The faster hardware in PS5 Pro can make a real difference. Allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add ray-traced reflections between the cars in gameplay, while continuing
Nice.
to support their targeted 60 frames per second.
Wow.
That boost in ray tracing is also delivering big wins for Hogwarts Legacy, allowing not only for better reflections and a greater variety of reflective surfaces, but also for further realism in the casting of shadows. I hope you've enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5 family. Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
So here we get the official design, which it has kind of been leaked in a way, but we're seeing it here officially with the 3 little lines on the side. A different stance as well.
Don't let me hang it.
Oh man, Final Fantasy VII. A game that definitely needed the power of a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
Damn. I mean, I think like if you have the console already, it's something that you have to kind of consider how much that really matters to you. If you're thinking about grabbing the console eventually and don't have it yet, obviously this is the right choice. It seems like Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be running really good on the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is going to be nice considering that game is coming up here shortly, within the next month or two. 2 months, I think. I feel like racing games are also going to look phenomenal. I don't know if every game will be able to target ray tracing 60 FPS fidelity mode. Probably not, but maybe the fidelity mode in itself without the ray tracing, a constant 60 FPS, which I think that's really freaking good. The vertical stance sold separately $699, starting at $699 November 7th. I'm going to be honest, $700 is a little bit on the steeper end of things, considering especially how hard life is right now. Like people are, you know, having 9-to-5s, barely making a living. It's definitely going to be a challenge, especially for like kids that love video games, going up to their parents and saying, hey, can I get a PlayStation 5 Pro? It's $700. A lot of people are going to say, yeah, I cannot afford that. Considering that you have a PlayStation 5 for $500 currently, and maybe when this Pro version comes out, that might even get cheaper somewhere along the road, right? So there's that aspect. So it's definitely, I think, going to be for the more hardcore gamers and obviously for the people that have that money to spare. It says the PS5 Pro console will be available this holiday, as we already know. It will include a 2TB SSD, a DualSense wireless controller, and a copy of Astro's Playroom, pre-installed in every PS5 Pro purchase. The PS5 Pro is available as a diskless console with the option to purchase the currently available disc drive for PS5 separately. Which again, I've always said I've been a massive fan of physical discs. It feels like you actually own something, you know? But it just seems like the entire world is moving towards a physical less sort of style. Everything's digital, everything's kind of like not truly owned. And that's just what it is, unfortunately. There's always been rumors that this was the console for when the official Grand Theft Auto 6 video game releases. And I think this is the right move. A lot of people are gonna get Grand Theft Auto 6, and that game is probably gonna be massive considering the scale of Rockstar games. I wonder also if Rockstar is gonna come around and maybe then deliver some sort of incredible update for Red Dead Redemption 2. We've been asking for some sort of update like that for the current PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Maybe now for the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's something that finally happens for consoles. But nonetheless, I think this is massive for the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6. And it's gonna definitely be a deciding factor whether people get a PlayStation 5 or not. Or versus like an Xbox, if you will. And that's a smart move. I really do think that's a smart move. And not only that, but just for like other video games. There's so many great video games that I truly, honestly wish I could play in fidelity mode, but it just does not feel right on the controller. Just like as they were explaining, fidelity mode is great, it's beautiful, but the 30 FPS is just, it's 10 years behind already. I'd rather sacrifice, as much as I hate it, I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of graphic fidelity and have that buttery smooth 60 FPS and have the appropriate controller response. But there you have it. That has been the official PlayStation 5 Pro. This presentation was literally just for the PlayStation 5 Pro, as we all predicted. And now we have November 7th, a new PlayStation 5 in the works.